My name is Kelly Ellenwood, Russell Wrights, Manitoga.
My name is Gina Carminucci. I work in a non-for-profit working with adults and children with developmental disabilities.
So my name is Jeanne Traugot, and I'm in the nonprofit sector as well for a local organization in Newburgh that works on affordable housing and the arts.
I'm Javier Gomez. I work with a nonprofit affordable housing provider, specifically with the real estate development team there.
I am Johnny Ann Hansen. I'm the Vice President of Workforce Development and Operations at the Council of Industry.
So my name is Janelle Taylor. I am a certified school counselor and I work in education.
Hello, I'm Maximillian Mahalek and I am an attorney.
Fernando Omana. I'm a VP of Lending and official financial coach.
I'm Christopher Castro-Gonzalez. I'm the new practice supervisor of the infectious disease clinic at Westchester Medical Center.
Hello, everybody. My name is Stephanie Paruolo. I am the Assistant Vice President of Patient Care Services at Montefiore St. Luke's Cornwall Hospital.
Rae Kurman-Kostrubal. I'm a Regional Assistant Vice President for Hudson Valley Credit Union.
My name is Brandi Rider. I'm AVP Community Lender for Rhinebeck Bank.
I'm Michelle Pfeffer, and I work with Pattern for Progress.
Freddie Garcia, work as a Regional Director for Diversity and Community Engagement, and I work for Westchester Medical Center Health Network in Dutchess and Ulster County.
Hi, I'm Travis Bureau, Project Manager at IBM Systems and Representative Marist College.
Morning, my name is Michael Spencer, Commercial Lender, TD Bank, servicing the Orange County, Lower Hudson Valley market.
Hi, I'm Tom Zupan. I'm a CPA with RBT CPAs in Newburgh, New York.
Hi, my name is Carrie Fenton-Foley, and I work with Catholic Charities of Orange, Sullivan, and Ulster County.
My name is Danielle Watson. I am the Development Manager for the Center for Safety and Change and the Program Administrator for Leadership Rockland.
Yes, the one thing that I've been noticing, and I hope it lingers, this appreciation we have for our essential workers.
How appreciation for service workers is growing, particularly in like with grocery store clerks and bodega operators. And I think we're probably going to see some shifts in the economics of their jobs and how we value that work going forward.
Something that I have appreciated seeing even more of is the community spirit. People are supporting their local businesses by chipping in to buy meals for nurses or, any of the healthcare workers, the firemen, the policemen, any of the essential work employees. And so they're supporting two ends of it by coming together for one. So they're helping the local businesses by purchasing from it, but they're also giving and thanking the people who are on the front lines as well.
There seems to be this very much renewed interest in keeping the downtown viable.
I feel really inspired by all of the creativity and resilience that I'm seeing in businesses and my friends and people around me.
We're actually working on an article right now at work, how we think zoning codes and city laws are going to change in response to COVID in terms of building design and requirements. So emphasizing more private green space, less touch surfaces, less density.
So I'm becoming a pro at Zoom.
I like that I'm being challenged to connect with my team in a different manner.
One thing that I can appreciate is people's adaptability. A lot of people have gone out of their way to adjust what's their norm.
This seems to be a really intense bonding experience, even though we're really separated. It's I feel like we can all really relate to it.
The way that people have somehow come closer together while being distant, because I am now talking to my friends and family more during this pandemic than I have ever. So we're FaceTiming, we're calling each other, and we are just telling each other that we love each other more, which is not something that we did very often. So that's been a huge positive for me, because it's like a little beacon of hope.
Friends and family that I haven't spoke to in a while, all coming together and checking on each other. That's been nice.
I would say it's probably brought my family closer.
Some of my conversations, especially at work, we can be a lot more candid, it feels like, about the way things don't work. We're able to, it's bittersweet because that's not great, but I love the way that we're able to just say that and talk about it and talk about how to fix things, like, openly. I know for me, that was something that didn't feel necessarily common before, to be able to call out things directly and say, okay, that program, that system doesn't work. You might have had more people trying to defend those kinds of things, if that makes sense. And now I feel like I'm having a lot more open conversations about things that may not work and how to fix things.
Just the kind of like the idea of what's essential. Like, I feel like we throw these words around. So just the reflection in your own life, what is essential in your life? What do you need? And not just kind of living in the fast-paced day-to-day, and actually taking time to think. So I would love to see that continue.
I just really am enjoying, and I feel guilty kind of saying that, the slower pace of things, not having to, like, you know, my life, I'm just realizing now how pretty insane my life was.
But it's a different appreciation for things that are smaller, but now are bigger in life, right? So we were in this hamster wheel before this. Appreciation for gardening, right? Like, I'm like walking around the neighborhood and everybody's building a raised bed or building a greenhouse.
The slower pace it suits me just fine, and I like working from home. I really do.
Well, I think spending more time, doing the simple things, I think has been very rewarding for me and my wife at home together, 24 hours a day. Just kind of, going for walks, doing things like that in a personal level. In terms of professional level, I think just being communicating more often.
I like the way I think it's forcing us to be innovative and creative, and ultimately change our mindset about how we keep ourselves and our family entertained, and kind of grow the bond with our family as we go through this. Because, there's no obligation to go anywhere. There's no going to the movies. There's no going to a restaurant or bowling or anything. So we talk more. We go for a walk. We'll get in the car. We'll take a drive with no heading, for an hour, just to get out of the house and drive around. I think ultimately, it helps us grow a bond with our family.
The slowdown yeah, I feel a little guilty. I felt guilty about it at first, the appreciating the slowdown, but now I think for me, and I've been talking to my friends about it too, being my age, we feel really ambitious a lot about what we want to do with our time and in life and those kinds of things. But this has kind of made me appreciate it, and people in my life appreciate you really just have today, and you really only have what's going on today and the next couple of weeks or the next month even. There's no getting caught up in where you want to be 5 years from now. You should have those goals, but it's not everything. Be more in the moment.
It's probably an opportunity that most people would never get in a lifetime, to get to reboot, to literally, the longer this goes on, you get to decide what's really important to you and what isn't, and what things you want to hold on to and what things you really should have gotten rid of a long time ago.
So somebody who I hadn't spoke to a while was my cousin. She's actually a nurse at Lenox Hill Hospital in Manhattan. And I reached out to her because she is fighting the front lines as a bedside nurse, and somebody who, has been, a positive influence to speak with during this pandemic has definitely been my boss. She's kind of kept me sane throughout this whole thing. When I was home with the baby, I was struggling internally, wanting to be at the hospital. That's where my heart is. I felt extremely guilty not being here, fighting alongside them, and keeping in touch with her and finding out what was going on and finding out ways that I can help from home was just, really important to me.
My life hasn't changed too much because I go to work every day. My husband goes to work every day, and my child goes to daycare every day. It's kind of just muddling through everyday COVID-19 work life, But the most important person that I speak to is my dad. I go to my dad for advice. I talk to him on a daily basis.
An important person, somebody I pretty much go to advice for all the time, is actually my boss. He's a fountain of knowledge for accounting, but also just somebody I'm comfortable going and sitting and talking to about any issue I have. A couple of days ago, I texted one of my best friends who I haven't talked to since around Christmas time. As of February, he was moving out to be stationed in Japan. I reached out just to get a feel for what are things like over there? What do you guys have going on? And it seems like it's very similar. It was just interesting catching up with him and getting his perspective since he's, halfway around the world and, close to the epicenter of this.
Well, I've been connecting more with my high school class, which has been great. The person that I speak to, I guess every day, it's always been my mother. I speak to her sometimes twice a day. That's been for, 20, 25 years. And then the other person who I would say the last 60 days I've spoken to more is my father.
But I've been reaching out to a lot of the people at Marist that I worked with for a very long time. My family, so my mother and my two brothers, kind of my go-to people all the time. Funny enough, we used to text. My brothers and I used to text every so often, but now we FaceTime, which is kind of groundbreaking.
My conversations with friends and my cousins were a lot more intentional about making sure we spend time together, even that way. And then the person I think I always relied on before this, my sister. Me and my sister, she's a year older than me, so we've always grown up talking to each other. And I think I appreciate that a lot more now, right? Like having someone who I can bounce anything I'm thinking about with all the time, which I realize that's not everyone has that. So that's been really cool to recognize that.
My mother, we're pretty close. Although we probably only talked about once a week. But now we're checking in every few days. I rely on her on advice, career-wise, and so that's been helpful, particularly during this chaotic time.
My COVID resolution was just that. I had, for a brief period of time that I didn't have before, and I was going to reach out to everybody and anyone. So I decided I would take a long walk on the weekends with my dog, and I would put my earbuds in and just call all the people that I'd been meaning to call. And I did talk to a lot of old coworkers, but I reconnected with an exchange student that we had. I've talked a little bit more to my sister, even though she's only, on the other side of the county. I've actually spent a lot more time talking to my daughter, and she's 15.
During this time so far, one, for me, life hasn't really changed because I still come to work every day. My dad, before this started, would message me every single day. I responded once every 2 weeks, just saying, hi, I'm alive, thanks. But now I've been more conscious to talk to him because one of my friend's dads died from Corona, and it shook me hard. So I called him, and I've talked to him almost every other day since. I've also have my very close group of friends that I've had since high school.
I'm very fortunate. I talked to my mom, my dad, and my one aunt, who I happen to be named after, every day.
I'm in touch with my son's father pretty much every day. He hasn't seen his son in 2 months. And so that's hard. Friends that are in the city, prior to moving back up here, I lived in the city and worked for City Harvest, which is a nonprofit food rescue organization. And I have a lot of friends that are still there, and they're working day and night to provide, to acquire excess food throughout the country. And as you've probably all read, there's a lot of it, and then distribute it to New Yorkers. So they're working around the clock. And so just checking in with them. And one of them happens to be pregnant and one of the City Harvest people. So I've been checking in on her, and, you know, they're very much on the front lines in terms of distributing food that people always need, and then food that people need even more right now.
So it's been quite the challenge, you know, the last few months. And the one that I reached out to and that I need help with all the time is my mother. My mother and my father, through Todd being sick and us not being able to leave the house and being isolated, they would bring us anything that we needed from the stores. They would put on our back porch. So I talk to my mother every single day, probably a few times a day. So she's been my support through it all.
Some of my older friends that I, you know, don't usually get to spend time talking with.
Some college friends that we were like brothers. There's a pastor in town that I did Financial Peace University, and he's just a great soundboard, a great positive person.
And I sort of like texted everybody, you know what I mean? I'm keeping in touch, I guess.
My best friend, that's always helpful to have that one foundational person in your life that you can go to and just, yep, today was a hard day, or yep, today was a good day. And it seems like it is a bit of a roller coaster right now. So I'm thankful for having people like that.
Nobody misses the material things. Nobody misses the commute or the going shopping. Well, maybe a little bit on the going shopping, but nobody misses those types of things. They miss the human contact.
Part of my job is I am an HIV specialist. So when someone gets newly diagnosed, you walk them hand in hand and you tell them what the process looks like, talk to them about the virus. But then there's like the physical component of it. Some people cry, and it's really nice to just be able to give somebody a hug and have like that moment. And you're not allowed to do that anymore.
I miss my grandma, and I'm afraid of the uncertainty of everything.
I don't think we're ever going to be able to ever go back. It's illuminating and making clear and plain where we are falling short as a society. And I'm hoping and praying that we will be innovative and find solutions for some of these issues.
In our collective amnesia that we'll need to move forward, I hope that we remember that people have value, and that this work that all of these people are doing to help support our lives, is remembered, and it continues to be honored. And, people who work in food service, people who work in manufacturing, people who, are in hospitals and serving people constantly. I hope we remember that, and we continue to appreciate people in those professions and take care of them.
I would hope to see that there's more respect for service workers, particularly grocery store clerks, and restaurant workers and other various service workers, and that our health coverage policies and employment policies and pay structures of this country kind of reflect that increased respect.
I guess the thing about normal, it's hard for me to imagine. For me, normal would mean that like everyone feels safe again. I'm looking forward to like this I guess rethinking the way that we do things now.
I'm just I just miss hugging my mom, hanging out with my brothers, playing some sports with them, that kind of stuff.
I miss sports a lot.
I've been able to just like slow things down in that aspect and enjoy things.
I do miss sitting out at dinner and out of my house. My husband and I have sat in my car, and we've ate dinner in the car just to have say that we're out. We're not at home sitting at the kitchen table.
Gathering with my family. Typically Sundays, my house is kind of the place to stop by, and there's been none of that.
I miss my clients. I miss getting out there and, having a lunch with them, having an early dinner, having a cigar, and talking about what it is we're going to do with your company, help grow a business.
I'm more of a one-on-one person and having a coffee with somebody. So going to the cafe and, just talking about a person's business needs or financial needs. So just, being able to be with people and do things that are normal, so.
Rethinking how we educate children is something that I would like to personally change for my child. Working full-time at home is challenging enough. And now I have a child who I need to educate. And I am not an educator. I am not a teacher. And looking at the work she does, worksheets and math worksheets, and she has to learn all this stuff, but the way she's learning it is not working for her. I want to honor the individualism of not just my kid, but all kids, and it doesn't work for all kids.
Well, I feel very fortunate to be in the position I'm in right now. This is actually sort of right now, this new job that I'm going into is a dream job, and I wouldn't change it.
I don't think that I chose my path. I think my path chose me. I would have scripted something a lot less rewarding, a lot less meaningful, and probably smaller. I would have, if I told myself what I thought I could be, it would have been a little bit smaller than where I landed.
And I don't think I would change that, because I don't think I would have developed the skill set that I have now, or met the people that I needed to meet to challenge me and to help me grow into, the person that I am.
I would not change anything. I've always had a passion for the field, particularly due to the gentrification I witnessed as a child.
I don't know that I so much as chose the industry that I'm in, or it kind of chose me by, family circumstances.
I wouldn't change anything. I think everything that I've done has led me to this. I work in the community, so I'm always having to connect.
I would not change anything today. I'm able to still be home and still do my job 100%. And help our businesses right now in this tough time that they're in.
And I don't think I would listen. I've been doing this now. I'm 46. I started with an internship when I was, 19, 20 years old out of college. And kind of like my father, once you're doing something long enough, you realize you can't do much of anything else.
Since everything has started happening, I would have probably chosen the original path that my mom wanted me to go down. My mom wanted me to be an RN.
I completely enjoy the work that I do. I love nursing. I love being able to, impact nursing practice on a larger, broader scale. And now that we're in the midst of this COVID crisis, I couldn't be more sure that I'm in the right career.
I'm appreciative for all the intellectual capital that we all brought to the table and the exchange of ideas and perspectives that we don't necessarily share, but we were able to talk a lot of things through and see different facets of problems that affect us all.
And we need to just be able to listen and hear each other's ideas. And it's okay to have a strong opinion one way or the other.
It has been a real honor, a real pleasure to work with each of you, learn the different perspectives around the region, learn about conflict. I just think it was such a wonderful class.
That I came into this with certain intentions that I set, and those were to really expand my horizons outside of the healthcare arena. And I achieved that.
One, I just have to say I appreciate all of you just for taking the time out of your busy days to come and be in class. I really appreciated just hearing the different perspectives from people.
Where we got to know each other personally, I think it just meant a lot to me to understand that side of who we all are.
That I think that this group was really resilient. We were able to turn this around, and I really think it speaks to the leadership quality of everyone.
I just wanted to say thank you to everyone for just their honest communication and just willingness to be open and talk about things that are a little bit uncomfortable.
It's just been amazing to see everybody as leaders. And to see everybody kind of, if you think about it, we're like the pandemic crew. We're like in the raw, right? We're getting each other to understand each other in the raw. It's like you get to know people in other groups and they get all shined up and they put their suits on. Like, this is about as real as it gets right here, guys.
I also like getting to see everybody's puppies in
Yeah.
all of these Zoom meetings.
Actually, I wanted to put that as a question. How's it like living with a pet? Because my wife wants to adopt a dog, and
Do it. Pets always give unconditional love.
Do
It's the
it.
best thing in the world. Do it. Do it.
Be part of the solution. Join. Become a member. Subscribe. Join our mailing list to stay in the know. Attend. Attend our events and virtual panel discussions. Sponsor. Become an event sponsor to support our programming. Participate. Get involved in a pattern initiative like Fellows and Lift HV. Invest. Support pattern initiatives you're passionate about through an annual investment. Donate. Make a charitable contribution to support Pattern's work. Connect. Connect with us.